So today we're going to be doing some listening, some speaking as well. And then maybe we can go over, I don't know if you have some notes or something that you would like to show me for your presentation tomorrow, your final one. We haven't started yet.
No, I haven't. Sorry.
Okay. So, okay. Before we put that, so okay. So we're going to be watching a video that's on depression. So what do you know about that topic? Do you know anything about depression or that sort of mental disorders?
Exactly about depression, I think the common concept. I mean, I don't know if it's a common concept, but it's not that you only feel sad, but it's something inside that I think sink you. That
Okay, so yes, you're seeing somewhere.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's definitely a difference between sadness and depression, right?
Okay.
Could you try to guess what it is? What could it be?
Wow. The difference between these two. Uh, is that I don't know how to explain when you feel sad. Is isn't it's not that you feel sorry, but no, I don't know how to explain. It's different because depression it can be expressed in many ways.
Mhm. Yeah, because
So
I
part
think
of depression could be sadness, but it's not sadness, depression.
that's right. So I would say, sadness is an emotion, right? So it's a state of mind. You could be sad, you could feel sad, but it's something that doesn't need to last forever. But depression is mostly a mental disorder, right? So it's actually some sort of illness. So it's different. You can feel sad, but if you are, I don't know, if you suffer from depression, that's a different thing. It needs to be
Yeah.
treated. You have symptoms and everything.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about mental health in general? Do you think that's a topic that's being I don't know, raised as much as it should?
Well, I think that mental health is very important nowadays because I think that everything is in your mind. If you feel good here, you're gonna be good. Or if you focus on something, yeah, you can achieve that. So I think that nowadays people care more about that mental health because it's the beginning of everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
well, I have an example. My cousin's wife, she's not a doctor, but she used to give massage. But to start a massage, she not only you feel pain your back or something, and she start no. She asks you what happened. What are you thinking now? What or something like might start in your head that um occasion I don't know how to say occasionate
That cause.
that yes that cause that pain. So she said that everything is in your head, and first she need to know what happened here to see why it's happened or why is your pain in physical pain.
Okay. All right. So yes, that's a great example to illustrate this. So yeah, and that's right. I think that too. It might be everything could start in the head, and there are actually many sort of illnesses that come from mental the state of mind. So there are actual physical symptoms that come from that. Careful with your third person, right? I'm noticing that you struggle a bit with that. She asks, she says, careful with those. It's
Yes.
a practice. Okay. So yeah, definitely. And yes, it's a topic that's being raised a lot more than it was before. So people have started to see this as something real, not just something like. Because sometimes people used to be like, oh, you go, I don't know, you're going to therapy, then that must be that you're crazy. But it's something that people need to do, as a routine as well. Maybe
Mhm.
not going to therapy, but trying to implement that mindfulness.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Now, what do you think about the second one? Do you know what the difference is between melancholy and grief?
Mm, it's not the, I mean, it's not the same as the first one, but I think that in concept, um, um, melancholy is something that you feel, and grief, no, it's like depression.
Okay, possibly. Do you know what grief is? When do you experience grief? When do you go through that?
When you lost someone.
Exactly. When you lose someone, you have that grief, right? So it's
Yeah,
a response to a loss. And
yeah.
melancholy is just kind of remembering, whatever you lost. And it's not necessarily a bad emotion.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay. So what do you think that these words here mean in the context of emotions? So for example, the word temperament. Do you know what it means? Have you ever heard it before?
Yes, temperamento.
Yeah. So how would you
Yeah.
use it in a sentence?
In a sentence,
Yes.
you need to control your temperament.
Okay. That's good. So uh it's basically, I don't know, like the response that you have
The
towards,
level, or yes, yeah, how you
yeah,
respond. Yes.
yeah, that's right. I think it's similar to mood, but temperament is something that is not temporary, it's your temperament. What about withdrawn?
No, I never heard it.
Okay. So
No.
withdrawn is somebody that's it's an adjective. So you use it to describe someone that's being kind of introverted. So they're not talking about their emotions, you know? So you're a withdrawn person. It means that you don't really talk about what you're dealing with. So you don't want to talk about your
You
emotions.
keep yourself?
I'm sorry?
I mean, you keep everything to yourself. You don't share
Exactly.
it. Okay.
So you could say you are withdrawing your emotions, and that would mean estás reprimiendo tus emociones, right?
Or remember. Withdrawn is reprimir.
I mean, withdrawn, it's an adjective, right?
Uh-huh.
So it would be reprimido. But withdraw, the verb, it is a verb, right? So in this case, it means reprimir. Or it's also used for games, you know, when for example, in chess, you usually say, okay, I'm gonna withdraw, and that means I'm gonna quit. So that also is another meaning of withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 minutes. So then what do you know about the verb thrive?
Try. I don't know how to say it, but it's like it's not expecting good things, but it's something like that. Like everything good that might come in the future. I don't know. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's related to that. So to thrive as a verb means kind of flourish.
Prosperar.
Yes, exactly. So something's gonna thrive. It means that something's gonna become better. It's gonna flourish. It's gonna be developed. Whatever. And you can also use it as an adjective and say something is thriving. And in this case, it means exciting. So
Can you give me an example?
sure, maybe I don't know, uh, the thriving. I don't know, maybe these movies are so thriving. So you're saying those movies are so exciting. It's just an adjective to describe something that excites you. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm sure you know this one. What do you know about suffering? How would you use?
It's when you're in pain.
Yeah, exactly. When you're in pain. So it could be used as a noun, suffering, right? So can you give me an example? Maybe how would you use it in a sentence as a noun?
I don't know. Um, mm, as a noun. Uh, he needs, I'm not sure, he needs to stop suffering. No,
Okay,
but it's not a noun.
exactly. That would be a verb, right? Stop
Yes.
suffering.
Uh, an adjective. He. Okay. I am. Mm, everything I think is a verb.
Think of it as the way you said it, so pain. Think of a sentence with pain, you're more likely going to be able to replace that with this word.
Okay. The suffering that came with the loss is killing me.
Good. The suffering that came with the loss is
With the
killing
loss
me.
is killing me.
Good. There you go. So yeah, I think it's kind of the same as pain. Maybe suffering is more, it's a longer process. It involves different things. For example, I think it's used to talk about animal exploitation. You say animal suffering, right? So animals in the industry, animal suffering. Or maybe there are different mechanisms to cope with suffering. So, and that's another word for, speaking of mental health. Do you know what cope means, to cope?
To cope, no.
So to cope means, it's a verb, and it means kind of deal, right? So there are different ways to cope with pain. So to deal with pain.
Okay.
To handle pain, to endure pain. That's another word for mental, to endure something. And you could also talk about coping mechanisms, right? So coping mechanisms, so ways in which you deal with something. But you use it for everything, not only for mental health. You could say, how are you coping with the pandemic? So how you're dealing with the pandemic? What are you doing to feel better about the pandemic? So some words. Okay. So now we're gonna watch. Do you have any questions so far? Maybe any?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna watch this video, then ask some questions about it, and then you'll see how you could summarize. So you can take some notes, by the way. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Sadness is part of the human experience, but for centuries there has been vast disagreement over exactly what it is and what, if anything, to do about it. In its simplest terms, sadness is often thought of as the natural reaction to a difficult situation. You feel sad when a friend moves away, or when a pet dies. When a friend says, "I'm sad," you often respond by asking, "What happened?" But your assumption that sadness has an external cause outside the self is a relatively new idea. Ancient Greek doctors didn't view sadness that way. They believed it was a dark fluid inside the body. According to their humoral system, the human body and soul were controlled by 4 fluids, known as humors, and their balance directly influenced a person's health and temperament. Melancholia comes from melanchole, the word for black bile, the humor believed to cause sadness. By changing your diet and through medical practices, you could bring your humors into balance. Even though we now know much more about the systems that govern the human body, these Greek ideas about sadness resonate with current views not on the sadness we all occasionally feel, but on clinical depression. Doctors believe that certain kinds of long-term, unexplained emotional states are at least partially related to brain chemistry, the balance of various chemicals present inside the brain. Like the Greek system, changing the balance of these chemicals can deeply alter how we respond to even extremely difficult circumstances. There's also a long tradition of attempting to discern the value of sadness. And in that discussion, you'll find a strong argument that sadness is not only an inevitable part of life, but an essential one. If you've never felt melancholy, you've missed out on part of what it means to be human. Many thinkers contend that melancholy is necessary in gaining wisdom. Robert Burton, born in 1577, spent his life studying the causes and experience of sadness. In his masterpiece, The Anatomy of Melancholy, Burton wrote, "He that increaseth wisdom, increaseth sorrow." The Romantic poets of the early 19th century believed melancholy allows us to more deeply understand other profound emotions like beauty and joy. To understand the sadness of the trees losing their leaves in the fall is to more fully understand the cycle of life that brings flowers in the spring. But wisdom and emotional intelligence seem pretty high on the hierarchy of needs. Does sadness have value on a more basic, tangible, maybe even evolutionary level? Scientists think that crying and feeling withdrawn is what originally helped our ancestors secure social bonds and helped them get the support they needed. Sadness, as opposed to anger or violence, was an expression of suffering that could immediately bring people closer to the suffering person, and this helped both the person and the larger community to thrive. Perhaps sadness helped generate the unity we needed to survive, but many have wondered whether the suffering felt by others is anything like the suffering we experience ourselves. The poet Emily Dickinson wrote, "I measure every grief I meet with narrow, probing eyes. I wonder if it weighs like mine, or has an easier size." And in the 20th century, medical anthropologists like Arthur Kleinman gathered evidence from the way people talk about pain to suggest that emotions aren't universal at all, and that culture, particularly the way we use language, can influence how we feel. When we talk about heartbreak, the feeling of brokenness becomes part of our experience, whereas in a culture that talks about a bruised heart, there actually seems to be a different subjective experience. Some contemporary thinkers aren't interested in sadness's subjectivity versus universality, and would rather use technology to eliminate suffering in all its forms. David Pierce has suggested that genetic engineering and other contemporary processes can not only alter the way humans experience emotional and physical pain, but that world ecosystems ought to be redesigned so that animals don't suffer in the wild. He calls his project Paradise Engineering. But is there something sad about a world without sadness? Our cavemen ancestors and favorite poets might not want any part of such a paradise. In fact, the only things about sadness that seem universally agreed upon are that it has been felt by most people throughout time, and that for thousands of years, one of the best ways we have to deal with this difficult emotion is to articulate it, to try to express what feels inexpressible. In the words of Emily Dickinson, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all."
Okay. So what do you think of the video?
It was interesting. It talks about how we relationate, everything about melancholy and how it's connected to our brain and why we express everything. The chemistry that is inevitable. Inevitable.
Inevitable.
Inevitable. Yes.
Okay. So yes, he looks at depression and sadness and melancholy through different perspectives, right? He talks about poets, he talks about scientists, the chemistry of it, the history, the Greeks and culture and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the one view that caught most your attention?
Like you mean the culture, the investigation, the research, that or which one?
No, not exactly. I mean, what was the part that caught most your attention? Something you didn't know, maybe?
I
Or
think that in one part talk that sadness and melancholy is part of our life, and without this part, we might not be able to express what we need to express.
okay, so yes, I think that's what poets used to say. You know, they talk about Emily Dickinson, I think, and somebody else, I don't remember. And they
It,
used sadness as a source of inspiration, probably.
and it is necessary.
It's necessary. And yes, they also talk about the fact that without sadness and without the lows, you wouldn't really experience or appreciate that much the heights, right? And I like this. What's this? The way that they show that with the video. So here, for example,
Of sadness.
I don't know where it is. So here, right?
Learn the value of sadness. And in that discussion, you'll find a strong argument that sadness is not only an inevitable part of life, but an essential one. If you've never felt melancholy, you've missed out on part of what it means to be human.
Right? So I like that illustration.
It's a part of how to be human. Yes.
Yeah. So here, I like the animation.
So yeah, I think that's true, because when you're happy or when you're sad, because it's action reaction, I think.
Yeah.
You need to pass for something to feel or to believe, or yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah, it's part of being human. So that's totally true. Now, can you maybe tell me what was the last thing that made you sad?
Sorry?
What was the last thing that made you sad? The first question.
Okay, what was the last that made me sad? I think that 2 weeks ago, my doggy died. She was old and she was sick. She lost her view. She got blind, and yeah, it was sad. It was very sad because she was the one that remembered my grandma. So she let me keep her. She was from street, so I took her and took to my grandma's house. She lived with me, and at the end I moved and she stayed with my grandma, and then my grandma died and she was alone, and then she came to my house, and the last year she was very happy. I mean, when I picked her from my grandmother's house, she was very sad. She hid, and she was, she was, she didn't eat nothing. She was very sad. Now that I took her and I take her here in my house, she enjoyed. I mean, the last year was very happy for her. So I think that in part make me feel sad, but then the last year with her, it was very, very beautiful. So I think, yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So yes, I mean that's the thing about pets, you know. But I think it was nice, you know, that you got that time with her and that she reminded you of your grandma and that she got to be, because it's true, you know. I think that dogs and most animals experience sadness as well, and they feel like when their owner has died or something, they do go through that process as well. But yeah, I'm glad that you got to have that time with her. And I'm glad that she also died because, you know, she was old. So she's probably better now.
Yes, I know.
So yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss.
No, it's okay. I like to remember.
So what do you do when you feel like that? What did you do?
When I when I feel sad, you mean?
Yes, when you feel sad.
Well, if it's in the night, I listen music, but if something in my heart that don't make me feel right, I go to cemetery to visit my grandma. When I feel that something is not good, and I need to take everything out and talk to her. So that's made me feel better. I sorry, is that I
No,
miss you so much.
I know. It must be hard, it must be tough.
Mm.
Well, that's good. And yes, I think talking to somebody, expressing your emotions, if it's your grandma, somebody that you feel a connection with, then yes, it should help. So, okay, that's okay, don't worry. So, okay, so let's stop talking about sadness and depression. It's gonna get,
Yes, no.
let's move on to something else.
No, it's okay. I mean, it was sad for a moment, but now it's okay. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. All right, so then let's continue with what we have here. Let's see. All right, let's try to have some more vocabulary. We need to match these words to the definition. So the first one, bile, do you know what it means? Can you think of any of these options?
Okay, let me read these options. It's not G to stand or sit on a branch or a small surface, often used. No, it is a perch. Sorry, no. Uh, F.
Okay, remember this is a noun, right? So it cannot be a verb.
Oh, right. A thick liquid produced in the body.
Yeah, exactly. So in Spanish, it's bilis, right?
Mhm.
So it's a liquid produced in the body. Usually as a reaction, as a chemical reaction to emotions. Yeah. What about to resonate?
Resonate to resonate. Wow. Is to make someone think and remind them of a similar thing.
Great. So you usually use it with, right? With the word with. So it resonates with me because it's making me think of somebody that's familiar to me. It resonates. When it's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
What about to discern?
Discern usually used. No. Discern. Uh, mm, I'm not sure to effectively put an idea into words.
Okay. Discern. Uh,
Could
I
be.
mean, not really. I think it's different. I don't know. In Spanish, I don't know if it's discernir, but I don't know if discernir means this in Spanish. Not really sure.
Discernir. I'm not sure what the meaning even in Spanish.
So discern is like
It's
deter.
like so usually use between two nouns to show. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So it's like
I
diferir.
wasn't sure about that because it's a verb.
Okay. Yes, it's a verb, but it's a verb that's usually used between two nouns. For example, you say your idea of depression discerns with my beliefs. So discerns with, that means difiere con, or yes, difiere con mis creencias. So it discerns with something. It means you could also use defer. So it's a different opinion, it's opposed opinions. So something discerns with something else, right? So that's why it's used between two nouns. Okay.
Tangible thing is existing in a clear and real way.
Right. So something tangible is something that you can touch, something that's no question is there.
Anthropologist is an academic who studies the human race and how it developed.
Right, that's an anthropologist. The word versus.
Versus. To attempt to understand or recognize something that is a D. No, it's not. It's D or E, but I'm not sure because I thought that versus was H.
I think it's age now. Yes, now that you say, because it's used between two nouns.
Yes.
But then isn't there one missing? Because
no, it's 8. 8, 8.
Oh yeah, it's 8.
Yeah, because
oh yeah, I know what happened. So discern wasn't that, right? I think discern was which one then?
Yes, discern is to attempt to understand or recognize something that isn't easy to identify.
So it would be D.
Yes, for me.
Okay. So discernir then.
So I think that discernir is like to present your idea.
No, that's
No.
I don't know. No, I think
How can you say disertar? Disertar is.
disertar, I think it's more similar to articulate, right? So to maybe disertar, so to argue something.
Disertar is like what I did yesterday, my presentation.
Okay. So yeah, it's kind of to effectively put an idea into words, right?
Yes,
Right now we
yes.
don't have disertar, this is discernir. So it will be kind of like to process an idea, maybe to thinking, it's a very common verb. I think, let's look it up because, yeah, right now it's kind of, let's see.
Ni en español sé.
Same. So discern.
Sorry.
So perceive or recognize something, distinguish.
Distinguish. Perceive.
So in Spanish it says discernir. Let's look for discernir maybe.
But the meaning of discerning.
Discernir.
Discernir.
So distinguir por medio del intelecto. Okay. I honestly didn't know that word. I've heard it. I'm sure it sounds familiar. I've heard it before. Or maybe I haven't heard that one. Maybe I have heard something similar. But okay. So to differentiate, maybe.
I mean, the second example, ha sido discernido. No, I don't understand.
I mean, ha sido dado, right? Ha sido, has been given. So
Yeah.
no. Discernir, I don't really get it too much. Let's look for something.
Yeah.
Okay, discern.
Lingui, yes.
Yes, that's gonna give us. Where is it? How do you write that?
Lingui?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So to discern with, but let's see.
How can we possible understand meaning if we don't understand in Spanish?
With context. So calling us to discern with global awareness and challenging us to deep personal. Maybe it's like
Present to go to the public to express. No.
I think it's just to think. Discernir, maybe to make decisions. Like I'm thinking right now here, so calling us to discern with global awareness, maybe they were all in a discussing the topic.
Yes, the third example, each one should discern with the help of others his journey as a blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So that's discernir, yes. Right? I think politicians do that, you know? So I think maybe the jury, yes, the jury does that. Doesn't it? So el jurado discierne. So.
¿Cómo que califica?
Sí, más o menos.
Decide.
Yes, decide, kind of. Piensa, debate, right? So they think about something. So look at this, by the highly discerning jury. So jurors discerning. dealing with the death penalty. So yeah, that's something that people, I think, do together as a group, disciernen sobre un topic para llegar a una conclusión, I think. All right? So that must be it. Jurors discerning. So they are discussing the topic.
Debating.
Debating the topic, thinking about it. I think that's how I heard it in Spanish. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I think I heard in the ballroom.
Where?
Ballroom.
What's that?
Something that represent the ONU.
Ah, okay. All right. So yes.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that I heard in that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think is to effectively put an idea into words. No.
I
Oh,
think it's
no. Is D? Yes, no?
it's but it's not that clear here, you know? It's not that a great, such a great definition, I think, the one we have here.
Yes.
But okay. So what was versus was H, you know?
Yes.
Okay. So although, you know,
is to make, no, it's to effectively put an idea into words and perch, to stand or sit on a branch or small surface, often used with birds.
yeah. So that's correct. So there we have our words.
Yeah.
Okay. So, any questions about this?
And no?
Okay. So, what we're gonna do is, okay, you're gonna answer a question and you're gonna record yourself answering the question. So it's gonna be just like any other question that we do. So for example, do you want, you know, what's something that made you sad recently? Something like that. Okay, now let's look for the question. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some options so that you can choose the one that you prefer.
How many minutes do I have? 1, 2, or?
Just try to do it in 1 to 2. So it could be 1, that's okay. It doesn't have to be that long. You don't have to explain it. So 1 minute is ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So these are the options. You have 4 of them. The first one is asking you to describe the most impressive moment in your life. So one moment where you felt the most impressed. So maybe you were amazed about something, maybe something you saw, or somewhere you've been. I don't know. The second one is just asking you to describe any work experience that you could possibly have had. So I don't know if you've ever worked before in some company or somewhere, on your own, and you can describe it.
Okay.
I mean, what your tasks were, your duties and stuff. You can talk about a place that you've never been before, but you would like to go someday. So somewhere you would like to visit. Or you could talk about a disappointing experience.
Mm-hmm.
So which one would you choose?
I mean, describe the most impressive moments or any work experience before. I'm not sure. You choose. I don't know.
Okay, so describe the most impressive moment.
Okay.
So don't exactly describe it, just talk about it. And yes, you can tell me the story.
Now?
You'll have 8 to 10 minutes to record yourself, okay?
Okay.
Prepare and record.
Okay.
So it's just going to be 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, so how are you doing?
Yes, okay. 2 minutes, please.
Okay.
Okay, just doing. Oh,
So it should be the fifth one.
okay. Fifth one. Okay.
Okay. All right, yes, I got
Okay.
it. Okay. So I don't know if you have any questions for today.
And no, I don't have any questions.
So then tomorrow is gonna be your presentation and the final class for this module.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to Ruth, see what we're gonna be doing for the extra classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sending you this everywhere.
Okay. So if tomorrow is our final class and probably the missing classes that I have, like the extra classes when I supposed to start the other course? Monday or tomorrow?
I don't know. I think it's gonna be up to you. So
Um,
since you from your schedule, you get to choose. So I would say it's up to you. So if you want, we can just continue working on during this week, the same schedule, so Saturday as well. Or maybe we would like to start next week. So I don't know.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
Can I mean, can I give you, can you give me a favor? Can I ask you for a favor, please?
Yes, sure.
Can we start at 9:30? Is it possible?
Every day, 9:30.
No, I mean tomorrow.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Just tell me whenever you want something like that.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
So, okay then. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, and I have one more question. And tomorrow the presentation will be at the beginning of the class or at the end of the class?
What do you feel will be better? I think at the beginning, since you're fresher, it will
Yes.
be better, more ideal. So yeah, maybe at the beginning of the class, the way we did it last class or last station. Yeah.
Okay, and the topic is technology, right?
Yes, technology. So as we said, you can try to narrow it down a bit. So you can focus, like the way that speech we saw. So technology at work, maybe, or technology for teenagers, or technology, I don't know, for this purpose or something.
I think I'm gonna focus in parents.
Okay, how so? What do you mean?
I was thinking about to argue about to let their children, I mean, in a good way, use the technology in a good way.
Okay. All right. So that's gonna be kind of your claim. You're gonna try to convince parents to let their children use technology.
Yes, I think. I'm not sure. I'm gonna research a little bit about.
Yeah, sure. Sleep on it. But I think it will be a good idea, because people focus too much on the disadvantages of technology and stuff. So it will be nice. But yes, of course, it's your decision. So sleep on it and see what will be better.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Andrea.
Bye bye.